Shalom the God, and I think it's safe to say that Zion is transformed into the best version of himself. He went from a player who many people had doubts on as a result of whether or not he could play at the size that he did in Duke to a player who, if anything, has transformed himself from the player that Charles Barkley, aka the round mound of rebound, had doubts about to someone who's being compared to one of the most dominant big men of all time in Shaq. Now, not only can you see where the comparison come in terms of physicality, but also there are moves in Shaq's game that you see more or less mimicked in Zion's. One of the things that I really come to appreciate is the fact that he's shown a lot of versatility, whether it be sealing his opponent and finishing at the basket, or doing what another high flyer who went by the name the Manimal did, which is taking it from end to end. Now, I bring up Kenneth Faried because one of the things that I think people don't spend too much time thinking about is the similarity in them in relation to the fact that they both did a little bit of ball handling. Zion, on the other hand, can do it on a level of, let's say, a point guard. And even if you wall him up, he can still throw the oop. One thing I would like Zion to get in this game is what Kenneth Faried would do from time to time, which is if he was walled off, he could finish some distance away from the basket with touch. However, unlike Kenneth and Shaq, Zion came into the league with a three ball that he used to score about 17 straight. And if anything, Nebuya showed in Kuroko's basketball just how dangerous a dominant big man can be when he's in the zone. But the thing is, a player like Isaiah Thomas, on the other hand, can be dominant while playing below the rim. He did it in a number of ways. One with his patented half spin move, taking it to the basket, or trying to take his opponent off the dribble, and if the half spin doesn't work, turn it into a step back and finish him. He had a lot of different options and counter moves for whatever the situation called for, which made him extremely dangerous, particularly down the stretch. He, at one point, would use his handles to either get into a step back or a pull up. And the fact that he could more or less score at will earned him the nickname King of the Fourth. Now, the player I want you all to consider is Lawson, another guy who was on the smaller side, who used his step backs and footwork in order to get separation and get his shots off. The difference with Isaiah Thomas is a lot of times he would even do that stuff, some ways away from the basket, knocking down threes. Not to say that if you gave him enough space, Lawson couldn't knock down the three ball himself. He also had a counter move, particularly on the perimeter, if you read the step back where he could finish at the basket. Now, Isaiah Thomas is more than capable of bringing down his opponent and finishing at the basket, many times finishing with contact over bigs, some of which 7 feet tall. Not to say that Lawson didn't have the ability to finish with contact too. The difference is that sometimes he would break down his defender only to dump it off and get an easy bucket for his teammate. And of all the Isaiah Thomas highlights I've watched, that was the biggest difference that jumped out at me. They both had a similarities in terms of size, even the fact that they both wear headbands, but the fact that so much of the offense in the Lawson era was generated from him, either getting a screen or breaking down his man and then dumping it off for his teammates, made such a huge difference in terms of, getting his teammates involved. Not only that, but he could draw upon the attention that he had garnered from the defense and manipulate it in order to get easy buckets for his teammates. Now, I believe that if anything, Isaiah Thomas can take the energy that he's getting from his doubters and really channel that into fuel for himself and transform himself from, not just the player that we've known him to be, but to leverage that chip on his shoulder and transform into a whole new type of player, level up, if you may, kind of like the energy that Dragon Ball Z fans remember Goku harnessing when he transformed into what they refer to as the legendary Super Saiyan. If anything, I think that's what the fans who, after years and years of hearing doubts about whether or not Isaiah Thomas still had it, were hoping to see once he returned back to the league. And if anything, I still think there's a possibility for that to be revealed. Now, speaking of people leveling up, when you take a look at Brandon Ingram, who went from someone who was highly doubted as well into the league's most improved player, you see that he became a mid-range assassin, which is something that people were hoping to see early on, but ultimately came to fruition in New Orleans, where he felt most comfortable. Before, when he got to LA, he was getting comparisons that he was going to be something like Kevin Durant. The biggest difference being that Kevin plays a lot more back to the basket. Not only that, but he utilizes his footwork to, punish the smaller guy and use his height to, take advantage. Where the biggest difference with Brandon Ingram is that he uses his footwork mainly to try to get into the defense. But what I do like from what I've seen from Brandon Ingram recently is the increased ball handling and using that ball handling to get into the three, which is something that he wasn't really shooting at a high clip in LA. Not only that, but he's also moving off the ball and finishing, which is something that Gilbert Arenas really stressed, was the ability to finish with contact for him. Then there's the playmaking that he's been displaying, which, if anything, I think that will only be elevated if he takes a look at another do-it-all three who could use the attention he gets from his scoring to make plays for his teammates in Danilo Gallinari. And I believe that if he can get that level of playmaking into his game, he could create a situation where not only is he in the zone, but he could also help get his teammates there. That's one of the things that people really expected to see from Lonzo Ball coming out of college. The level of connectivity that he created with his play, if anything, had Magic Johnson comparing him to himself. And that was that Showtime Lakers era that he was hoping to bring when Lonzo was brought into the team. Granted, with the Pelicans, he has shown that he still possesses a high degree of court vision and can make, really high-level plays for his teammates. But the thing is, what I would like to see him do is to leverage that playmaking to create scoring, kind of like Nuggets era Andre Iguodala, who, if anything, used his ball handling and fakes to create opportunities for his teammates. Now, when it comes to ball handling, Lonzo has used his ball handling to kind of hit more mid-range, or something that people hadn't really seen him do very often. But what I like to see him is become more aggressive and use that same dribble to get some opportunities beyond just hitting the pullback threes. And I think that would help him level up even greater, even like a Super Saiyan level 2, which I really was hoping to see from Isaiah Thomas. And if you think that the Pelicans could have used him differently and actually got that kind of output from him, then please, let me know in the comments.
I'm leveled up, I'm Super Saiyan. You said to stun on my haters. I had to show them who's boss. I had to flex on my haters. Diamonds, they dripping in sauce. I had to stun on my haters. I had to show 'em who's boss. I had to flex on my haters. Diamonds, they drippin' in sauce.